And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. Matthew 24:12. Babylon, the world system of spiritual mixture and cultural confusion, is falling, or should I say fallen. We as believers are not of this world, but we are very much in it. Every day we experience the effects of what is happening all around us. Economic systems are failing. Governments are corrupt and incompetent. Businesses chase profits at the expense of their employees and their customers, bringing customer service and consumer safety to an all-time low. Religious institutions have conformed to the world and cling to deception while the allure of New Age spirituality is on the rise. Murders, robberies, and other senseless and violent crimes have increased. The natural environment is polluted and is hostile with increased natural disasters and unusual animal attacks. Basic necessities like housing, safe food, and clean water are increasingly inaccessible to many. Relationships are plagued with toxicity and narcissistic abuse. Technological advances are eating away at the social structure of society. In the opening verse, Matthew 24:12, the Messiah speaks to his followers and warns them of a time when the spiritual and social climate will be characterized by coldness because of increased lawlessness. This lawlessness goes beyond the disregard for the laws of society. All of the disorder we see within our society is ultimately a result of a collective disregard for the laws, teachings, and righteous instructions of the Most High. Those who control the systems of the world have rejected Yah, and those whom this system has oppressed have begun to wax cold under the weight of that oppression. The stress of living in today's fast-paced, disconnected, and oppressive flow puts people in an anxious mindset of hustling to survive. The frustration that comes from that leads people to mentally and emotionally detach as a coping mechanism to preserve their own well-being. Have you felt the coldness settling in? These days it takes very little for individuals to betray, make false accusations, get offended, sever ties, withhold forgiveness, and exhibit a lack of empathy. These actions reflect the distress of navigating a chaotic and stressful reality. Despite the ongoing social conflicts, women versus men, white versus black, Christian versus Hebrew, there are very few willing to invest time and energy in genuine listening to increase understanding and bridge the gaps. When it is extremely cold outside, we call it bitter cold, and bitterness is what has begun to eat away at the core of many people's hearts as love grows cold. It's hard to maintain your own body heat in a cold environment. If you are alone in the freezing cold, or you are with others who refuse to work together, you will struggle to maintain your body heat and may go into hypothermia and even die. The same thing happens when your soul begins to freeze and the fire, warmth, and light inside you are slowly snuffed out. Darkness masquerading as light. For look, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness the peoples. Isaiah 60:2. We all share a deep-seated desire and need to love and be loved. But in today's world, our desire to experience love is often the doorway to much pain and confusion. This world has become covered in darkness and must be navigated in a spirit of wisdom to not fall prey to its traps. What is this darkness that Isaiah 60:2 is referring to, and how did it come to consume the people of the earth? Let's take a moment to go back to the beginning and see how this darkness evolved and Yah's plan for his light to overcome it. How it started. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. Genesis 1:2. The earth was in a state of darkness, disorder, chaos, and then, and Elohim said, "Let light come to be," and light came to be. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light from the darkness. Genesis 1:3-4. Elohim, the creator of heaven and earth, brought his light into the earth, bringing things into order. He called his light and order good and made it distinct from the darkness. In the rest of Genesis chapter 1, the Creator sets up an environment on the earth that is good, which in Hebrew is the word tob, which means functional and beautiful, with everything created fulfilling its intended purpose. Then the Most High created man and placed man into this functional environment of goodness, beauty, and order. The only threat to this order would be mankind choosing to walk contrary to it. And of course, spoiler alert, that's what happened. Good is the Hebrew word tob, which means functional and beautiful, fulfilling its intended purpose. What had happened was read Genesis chapters 1 through 3. If you are not familiar, but the Most High created a beautiful garden with wonderful trees and gave instructions for them to enjoy all of it, but to avoid just one tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Eating of that tree would lead to death. Side note, there was also a tree of life in the midst of these trees. Sounds like a better option, right? But temptation always comes to draw us away from goodness and toward the source of destruction. And the serpent said to the woman, "You shall certainly not die, for Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil." And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. Genesis 3:4-7. Okay, so wait, let's recap here. Immediately when humanity chose to go their own way, instead of following Yahweh's way, their eyes were opened. Sounds like a good thing, right? Except that their eyes had already been declared good by the Creator. They were given everything they needed and the instructions for life from their Creator. They were dwelling in the presence and light of Elohim, where everything was good and functional and beautiful and abundant. Then the tempter came and convinced Eve that there was more, that there was something else Elohim was keeping from them. He told her she could be like Elohim, knowing good, tob, from evil, ra, function from dysfunction. Elohim is a Hebrew word meaning power, mighty one, ruler, and it also means judge. The Creator as Elohim is in the position to judge what is good and evil. He separates what is darkness from light. But once man made the move to eat from this tree of mixture, he placed himself in the seat of judge. Let's see if they were good judges. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. Genesis 3:7. Now their eyes became opened in a way where they began to know something that they didn't know before. They knew that they were naked. So originally they were covered by the light of the Most High, but now they found themselves in a state of nakedness. They decided, judged, that they should go sew fig leaves together to cover themselves. They had this brand new insight with these new opened eyes, and the first thing they discovered was a problem. And now these new judges took counsel within themselves and found what they thought was an adequate solution to their problem. And check this out. This is how you know something is off. And they heard the sound of Yahuwah Elohim walking about in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim among the trees of the garden. Genesis 3:8. They heard the presence of their Creator, and instead of drawing close to him, they ran away from his presence. Shame and fear entered the picture. Something has clearly shifted, and these new eyes are leading mankind away from their source of life and light, instead of closer to him. The Most High was being a righteous judge when he instructed them not to eat of the fruit of this tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It opened the way to an independent knowledge that leads to death, just as Yah had said. Their eyes were opened to a light that caused blindness instead of sight. And Yahweh Elohim said, "See, The man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. So Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken, and he drove the man out. And he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to guard the way to the tree of life. Genesis 3:22-24. Yah in his mercy guarded the way to the tree of life to keep man from living forever in his fallen state. And man was separated from the place of paradise to go out and continue to provide for himself. But now through toil, how it's been going since then. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Genesis 6:5. With men walking as their own judges, being tempted by and choosing their own good and evil, running from the presence of the Almighty, following the voice of fear and shame, coming up with their own solutions and coverings, walking in the light of their own understanding, evil began to grow and expand in the earth. Yah searched the earth for men whose hearts were turned toward him, and he made covenant with them. He entered into a relationship and partnered with them to perform his will in the earth. These were men who had a different spirit, such as Noah. Yah preserved Noah and his family and caused a flood to come over the earth to destroy the rest of mankind that had become corrupted. But even after the flood, as the earth became repopulated, man continued to choose his own ways contrary to the way of Yah. It's not that the ways of Yah had not been revealed in the earth, but that man with these new opened eyes would see good as evil and judge evil as good, choosing it instead. Sometime later, the Most High found Abraham to be another man who had a different spirit. He called Abraham to walk with him and tested his faithfulness. Abraham trusted in the voice of the Almighty, and Yah was pleased. Yah promised to make Abraham the father of many nations, and promised that through his seed all the nations of the earth would be blessed. Abraham had a son named Isaac, and Isaac had a son named Jacob, whose name later became Israel, or Yisrael. Yisrael had 12 sons, who expanded into the 12 tribes of Yisrael. Called to be a light? In the book of Exodus, the 12 tribes of Yisrael found themselves in captivity in the land of Egypt. The Most High raised up Moses to deliver them out of the land, just as he had promised Abraham. When the Most High sent Moses to Pharaoh and commanded him to let his people go, he referred to Yisrael as his firstborn son out of all the nations of the earth. What did he mean by that? The children of Yisrael were set apart by the Most High to help restore his light, order, in the earth that was now filled with darkness. A son in Hebrew is the word ben, which means to extend the house, to carry the seed of the house. A son of Yah is called to expand the seed of Yah's house throughout the earth. When Yah created Adam, he made mankind in his image to expand his dominion, his light, the seed of his house in the earth realm. When Adam fell to temptation from the serpent, he forfeited his dominion as the firstborn son. Yisrael was being called as a kingdom of priests, to be a light showing the way for the lost sons and nations of the earth, walking in the darkness of their own understanding to return to the covenant. How would the people of Yisrael qualify to be a light? Because they were given the Torah, the teachings and ways of Yah to be their wisdom and understanding. They were called to fulfill the role of a firstborn son, and the Torah, laws of Yah, was their inheritance. They were called to govern in a way that would bring light to the earth as a witness to the other lost sons of the nations. Moses expresses, "See, I have taught you laws and right rulings, as Yahweh my Elohim commanded me, to do thus in the land which you go to possess, and you shall guard and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding before the eyes of the peoples who hear all these laws, and they shall say, only a wise and understanding people is this great nation." For what great nation is there which has Elohim so near to it, as Yahweh, our Elohim, is to us, whenever we call on him? And what great nation is there that has such laws and righteous right rulings like all this Torah, which I set before you this day? Deuteronomy 5-8. Yah raised the children of Israel up to be a light, but they repeatedly succumbed to the same darkness and injustice of the other nations. The nation of Israel was eventually split, and the northern kingdom of Israel was scattered. The southern kingdom, which was called Judah, remained because there was another son that the Most High was going to bring forth from them. This son was going to not only restore Israel to the place of being a light to the nations, he was also going to restore what Adam had lost, redeeming man to the place of reflecting the image and light of Yah in the earth. Then enters the Messiah, Yeshua, also known as the second Adam, the firstborn son of the renewed mankind and renewed kingdom. When the Messiah enters the scene, this is what the book of John says in chapters 1 and 3. In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:4-5. He was the true light, which enlightens every man coming into the world. John 1:9. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim, to those believing in his name, who were born, not of blood, nor of the desire of flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. John 1:11-13. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love the darkness rather than the light, for their works were wicked. For everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. But the one doing the truth comes to the light, so that his works are clearly seen, that they have been wrought in Elohim. John 3:19-21. Yahusha came to be Yah's light in the midst of the darkness in the world. He was qualified to do so because he embodied Yah's word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. John 1:1. And the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem as of an only brought forth of a Father, complete in favor and truth. John 1:14. And out of his completeness we all did receive and favor upon favor, for the Torah was given through Moshe. The favor and the truth came through Yahusha Messiah. No one has ever seen Elohim, the only brought forth Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he did declare. John 1:16-18. The Messiah lived his life in total obedience to the Father and pointed the people back to the heart of the Father. He corrected false ideologies that the religious leaders were perpetuating that kept people's hearts far from Yah. He demonstrated love for Yah, love for the people, and was a light shining in the darkness. As one who was living and proclaiming the word of Yah, he said, Therefore Yahusha spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall by no means walk in darkness, but possess the light of life. John 8:12. The word of Yah is our light. The Messiah, as the firstborn son of Yah, who fully embodies the spirit and word of Yah, is light, and those who follow him will also possess this light. The Messiah stated, You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. Matthew 5:14-16. Those who follow and become students, disciples of Messiah, are being called to be lights in the world that would play a role in leading people back to the true source of light. Messiah was hung on the stake and died according to the plan of Yah. He was then resurrected, appeared to his followers, and ascended to the Father as firstborn of the sons of Yah, according to the new creation. As for those of the house of Judah, the chosen seed who remained in the land, Yahusha told them they would be scattered to the four corners of the earth and face more captivity mixed among the nations. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and be led away captive into all nations. And Yerushalayim shall be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are filled. Luke 21:24. The nation of Judah was preserved until the chosen seed had come, but now they would continue to face the consequence of choosing death over life, just as the rest of Israel and the other nations of the earth were suffering. As we look around today, we can see that the descendants of the children of Israel, along with all the people of the earth, are scattered not just into diverse locations, but also into different levels of consciousness and various degrees of woundedness and dysfunction. That's the current climate of darkness that we live in today. Layers of disorder that have increased lawlessness and lovelessness. Even though the nation that Yah chose failed to uphold the light, we have not been left without access to the light. The Spirit of Yah through Messiah continues to be with those who follow him and are adopted into sonship through being born again of his Spirit. The word of Yah is our light. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, verse 105. The living word of the Most High is a light that reveals the true condition of our heart and brings in the light of understanding to lead the way out of darkness. Any space where Yah's word is not upheld, darkness will reign. And these end days are characterized by that darkness. We live in a society that rejects the light of Yah's instructions, choosing instead to call light darkness and darkness light. Love and light is a common phrase we hear today. However, much of the light and love being elevated as truth are artificial lights cut off from the true source, operating in its own form of dark wisdom. Our house lamps allow us to see and function in the darkness, but it can never replicate true sunlight. Likewise, the wisdom of man is lacking in the transformative power that is present in the light of Yah's wisdom and love.